Hey guys, I was getting off a plane last week and I, exited the baggage claim to the pickup area. And there's a couple of bros there holding up a sign that said, and I swear to God, said, "Welcome home, Patrick."
Wow.
But it wasn't just that. It went on. It said, "Congratulations on your parole."
Ooh.
In big red letters.
Nice.
And then in small type, "Remember, you can't be within 100 yards of that sheep farm."
Aww.
I thought about you, Patrick, and I said,
friends.
That joke was bad.
Oh, my God.
I think I'm going to edit this episode this week.
Well, hey, guys. How you doing? Security this week. I'm Carl Franklin. That's Dwayne LaFlotte and Patrick Hines. Hey, guys.
Hey,
Hello.
how you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
We have some interesting stuff this week, but let's just do a little foreshadowing. The title is Move Over Diamonds, GitHub is Forever. You won't believe this.
So good.
But just hang on till the end.
So good.
But I guess first we should go back to what happened last week with that CrowdStrike thing.
Actually, we're going to talk about a different CrowdStrike thing.
A new CrowdStrike thing.
Yeah, so it's related to CrowdStrike, but CrowdStrike now says that hackers are it's so funny. Hackers are threatening to leak sensitive information about their adversaries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is not great because you might think, oh, who cares? CrowdStrike is one of those companies that they monitor hacking groups and they track 244 last count. And, they keep track of whether they're active, what country they're affiliated with, and that kind of thing. And the hackers got that data, which is no bueno. It's another, their bad mark on CrowdStrike.
Right.
But they also got other data that is not leaked, that is not distributed. And that includes how we know it's them.
Yeah. And
that is not good for it to be leaked because even though it might embarrass the hackers, it also gives them information that they can learn from, and we don't want that.
Yeah, and that's a good point. They call them indicators of compromise usually, or IOCs. You'll see them in reports. And it's like, let's take something simple. We think it's the GRU, and so we probably expect the virus to be written or the ransomware to be written in Cyrillic or something along those lines, right?
The GRU, what's the GRU?
It's the military secret police of Russia.
Right.
So it's basically the KGB 2.0 military style.
Got it.
But not the PLA.
Oh, the FSB.
That's a different country.
Well, actually, but Russia has several.
So what you're saying is the KGB is SOL. PDQs.
Exactly. If you got a 3-letter acronym, you're apparently a government agency.
TLAs.
Yeah. NSA,
right.
CIA.
So
actually, that's probably about right.
So let's back up. You say you might think it was the GRU, but...
Right. So let's say we see that the piece of ransomware was written in Russian, and we go, okay, well, you say this is probably, a Russian actor. But I'll tell you, there are plenty of times we maybe have written different pieces of ransomware for testing in Russian, because why not? It points in a different way. So
false flag.
A lot of times, CrowdStrike will not only look at like what the main language was and the comments, but they'll start to identify how the virus moves in the environment. Like, how does it move around? What does it look for first? What does it always try and exploit? And these are indicators of compromise. Does it drop a text file that has base 64 in it and then tries to convert that to a binary? Exactly.
For those who watch Law and Order, what's his MO?
Yeah. So this is the virus maker's MO. So if you had a list of all of these and you are a threat actor, right, on the global stage, and you see that and go, oh, well, now they know we do this. This is how they know this is us. And now I know how all of our enemies work as well. Why don't I start writing viruses like China would, or like the Americans would, or like whatever, right? So having those indicators of compromise out there are never really good because it makes it much harder for us to then attribute who did what, when, where.
Well, and the bad guys will stop doing that.
Yep. Right.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you want to play that way, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Check this one out.
It's interesting because you take a look at a lot of like endpoint detection and antivirus and that sort of stuff. And it used to be, if somebody had a virus on their computer, you would find the MD5 hash. You'd find the unique identifier for that file, and it would end up on VirusTotal or whatever it is. And then every antivirus would know that hash. And if you try and run that executable again, it doesn't run, right? So pretty simple. That's antivirus, right? We look at a file. We say, oh, this file matches exactly to a virus we already know. No, not going to allow that to run.
All right, so this is a non-action item. It's just an interesting story. And I love these stories because it really is like comic opera. You know, when you take it at a 50,000-foot level, oh, yeah, the hackers are one up on the bad guys today. Oh, wait a minute, they are the bad guys. Hold on a second. What's going on here?
Right, exactly. Yeah, and it is interesting to see them go back and forth. And you always wonder, well, why would they take this data? And I think pretending to be another adversary is a good reason, but also finding ways to bypass identification. Like maybe they change up what they do entirely so that their viruses now run better, right? Because they're not being detected. So,
or they look like someone else's.
Right. And the end goal is money, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Usually.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to something near and dear to our hearts as programmers. Progress warns of critical RCE, remote control execution, bug in Teleric's report server. Telerik is a software development tool company that was bought by Progress. See how I did that Canadian style?
Yeah,
Progress.
Well done. Progress.
And
how about that?
Your accent is progressing.
Progressing. So at least it's not Java. All right. Who wants this one?
All right. So this one it distills down into a deserialization of untrusted data.
I hate when that happens.
Right. So we've talked about these before, and I find these always super interesting bugs. But as a developer, I never understand when I would ever deserialize something generically. When would I say, I have no idea what object this is you're handing me? Let me deserialize it and let it run whatever I want. Just that doesn't happen, right?
When you're a coder in a big company with a big staff and you're looking for something to put on your timesheet, and you decide to build a widget because you don't know what you're going to be doing next. I've seen it. I've seen it back, but only in big companies typically.
Yeah. So in this particular case, I mean, if you are running these controls, if you're using Telerik report server prior to 2024 Q2, so that's 10.1.24.709, there is a patch. You can go patch it, but.
And just to be clear there, 709 is the first one that is patched.
Correct.
So 709 or later is what you need to remove the vulnerability.
But it always surprises me when you're going to take user supplied input, and whether that's via an API, remember, users can submit data directly to APIs, or whether that's data they submit on a website, or whether it's an import of a file that you're then going to show them bar charts and graphs or whatever it may be.
Right.
You're going to take a set of data from a user, and you're then going to deserialize it. And you're going to say, I have no idea what this is. Let's deserialize it and ask the object what it thinks it is. That it almost never makes sense to me. But we see this all the time. And that's where you can then say, oh, you know what type of object I am? I'm not a report object. I'm an object that can run commands. And I want to run these system commands. And then it goes, yeah, okay.
And as we know, just by deserializing it, you can arbitrarily execute code that's in the constructors or whatever somehow.
Yeah,
which I really don't understand because... You know, if it's JSON data or XML data, there is no executable code in there. But if you have something that's looking for executable code and then executes it, you know, because code is just strings, right?
Right.
So if you have a string variable that is got some bad JavaScript in it and your deserializer says, oh, that's JavaScript, I think I'll execute it.
Yeah, I'm just going to run
There's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So upgrade, patch. All right. WhatsApp.
Nothing good.
What's up with you?
Good.
I don't use WhatsApp.
I don't either.
I don't have it installed. But here's another reason why you might want to think about following that suit. So WhatsApp for Windows will let Python or PHP scripts execute with no warning. So this is like a zero-click, if I understand correctly, injection attack, which is no bueno.
But it's encrypted on way to you.
I know. I love how it says for the attack to be successful, Python needs to be installed, which is a prerequisite that may limit the target. to software developers, researchers, power users, and just the small group of people that use Python. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Do you know how ubiquitous Python is? It's everywhere, right?
It's everywhere.
So,
especially in universities.
Thank you.
Especially in academia. It's there everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and take a look at artificial intelligence
AI.
and LLMs, and like all of that is Python driving the back end.
Yep.
Cybersecurity, a lot of what we do, 90% of what we write is Python. Just quick and easy. Yep.
Science. It's all over science now.
So I'm going to echo what Patrick said. Why do you need WhatsApp for Windows? Because WhatsApp was started as a mobile app so that you could do the essential messaging without using your phone credits or whatever, instant messaging, SMS. If you have Wi-Fi, then you can do it, right? Since then, things have come out that are much more secure, like Signal. And again, I'll talk about the difference between them. WhatsApp is encrypted end to end, but not really. It's encrypted from you to Facebook, and then Facebook can decrypt it and say whatever they want and look at it, and then, send the encrypted version onto whoever the recipient is. But Signal goes through the entire chain encrypted, and nobody at Signal or WhatsApp or Facebook or anywhere else can decrypt it. So if you're going to use a mobile thing, first of all, we think Signal is best right now.
Right now.
Right?
100%.
Yeah.
Subject to change. We check
and don't install any of these things for your PC. That's just silly.
Nope.
Actually, there is a messenger I like to use on my PC. It's called email.
Exactly.
It's called email.
And it's better if you make that pile of apps that you use for communication as small as possible, because everybody has their pet favorites of how they want to be communicated with. Some people want to text. Some people want to WhatsApp. Some people want you to send them private Twitter messages or X messages. And it's just outrageously difficult. My wife, who runs my company, basically, and she has to deal with subcontractors and stuff. They all have these different preferences of how they want to be communicated with. And it drives her nuts. She has to keep a spreadsheet.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. She has to keep a spreadsheet.
You mean I can select how I want you to communicate with me and you'll actually do it?
Yeah. Well, she's nice that way.
Yeah. Well, and what you're talking about, Carl, what you're describing is actually your surface of attack. So the more applications you have installed, the more, things like I have it installed on my phone and I have it installed on my desktop and I have it installed on servers and whatever it may be, you're expanding that surface of attack, that area that we could then break in some way. Because, for example, with this WhatsApp issue, it is for Windows computers running WhatsApp, right? So if you're only using it on your phone, although you shouldn't be using it on your phone because there was an exploit to steal all your contacts a while back, but that's another story. You don't have to worry about this particular issue, right? So, you want to limit that surface of attack as much as possible in everything, right? The servers we run on computers.
And WhatsApp has become like a spam surface too. Like I find myself getting added to conversations all the time that I could care less about. Right?
Yep.
Kind of like Facebook Messenger does that too. People just would include you in threads and conversations. Like, what are you talking about? Get rid of this. Opt out.
I always wonder, I always feel like I'm getting too old. Like I don't know WhatsApp as well because I haven't used it in, I don't know, 10 years, maybe 12 years, something like that.
Dwayne,
Facebook Messenger, I haven't used. I have a Facebook account so that people can't create a Dwayne LaFleur Facebook account. But other than that, I haven't logged into it in probably 15 years.
We'll wait while you yell at those kids on your lawn. Go ahead.
Hey, get off my lawn.
You know what though? I think that us three are all in the same boat, and our listeners too. Probably one of the reasons they like us is because they are our age.
Don't insult our listeners with that.
For all you youngins out there. Yeah. I have WhatsApp on my phone just because one of my daughters is in Europe, and she was, and that was really her preferred method of communication, but she just got home, so I'm going to remove it.
And that's the other thing is WhatsApp really kind of took off, not in the United States, overseas, right? So we saw it early on where people were talking to family in India or family in the UK or family wherever, right? But here's a quick tip. all these messengers we talk about, like Signal, work everywhere on the globe. So just because you go somewhere across the sea, you don't necessarily have to use WhatsApp because it's the popular thing there.
You know what I usually say to people who want me to use a new communication mechanism?
Do we want to know?
I say goodbye.
Stay away from that sheep farm.
The tomahawks.
I say choose. No,
Yep.
I don't go for that.
No.
Nope.
No can do. All right. So the last story before a break, this is from Microsoft Security. This is a white paper, I think, right?
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Ransomware operators exploit EXSI hypervisor vulnerability for mass encryption.
This is awesome.
Before, I know this is awesome, Dwayne, you really want to talk about it.
I'm
but
excited.
Let's define what EXS lowercase I, ESX.
Let me take a quick stab at this. Sure. So in the world of enterprise computing, what we found out was that a lot of computers were set up to run applications and they just weren't. It was a waste of resources, like having a moving truck to move a filing cabinet box, a little box.
Who would do that?
And so they came up with this thing called virtualization, which many of you have heard of. And VMware became the biggest mover and shaker, and Microsoft a second player in that space. And ESXi is one of their hypervisor products that allows you to take a computer and turn it into, for all intents and purposes, a dozen computers as far as how it works. So it's super convenient.
Right.
What could go wrong?
Yeah. And honestly, I actually really like using virtualization. Because it keeps a lot of things clean. Like if I'm running, if I want to test out a new development environment, or I want to test out, running a web server where I don't want it to have access to, my development environment and that sort of stuff. If I want to run the database server separate from my web server, separate from whatever, like virtualization is great.
We use it
I can run most of those on the same box.
test ransomware.
So if I want to test ransomware, I could run virtualization and say it doesn't have network access, right? So I can still control the box, but it can't connect out and do anything weird, and I can watch what's going on. There's a Cuckoo's Nest, which is a virtualization software used literally for testing viruses. You run it, you upload the virus, it runs it in a fake Windows 7 computer, and it shows you what it would have done if it had run on your computer. So there's all sorts of really cool reasons to use virtualization. I actually use ESXi.
So what is it?
So it's what's called a hypervisor. So it's ESXi is a Windows operating system, right? For a computer. But instead of Windows, it is bare metal. So it is the full operating system is just a hypervisor. So you install this thing. It's a super light.
What's the difference between that and Hyper-V?
Nothing. Well, I say nothing. Hyper-V requires a Windows server to be installed first. And then on top of it, you add Hyper-V as a service.
Really? I can't run it on Windows 10 client?
No, you can. You could run it on Windows 10 client, but it still needs Windows. It needs a Windows it needs a full operating system. And then you run it as a service. ESXi is bare metal. It installs a tight little Linux kernel. And then from there, you connect to it over the web to its web interface. And it is the operating system.
So you would typically run it on a server also, right?
Yeah.
But it's lighter weight than a virtual machine?
Much lighter weight than something like Hyper-V. Because it doesn't require the operating system.
So is it more like Docker?
Yeah. Imagine if you could take Docker and if you could remove...
I'm sorry, Docker.
If you could take Docker.
Patrick's going to
DAWK.
You guys are not accent free either. I just happen to have a more melodious accent than you.
Mine is a little more mellifluous.
So if you were to take Docker now,
Dwayne's is malevolent.
If you were to take Docker and you were to remove the operating system and just say, hey, I have no operating system here, but I can spin up all these little Docker containers. That's very similar to the way ESXi works. Very tight little operating system.
So it's a very lightweight virtual machine.
Absolutely. And it's nice because I can take an old Dell computer, I can bare metal install ESXi, and then I connect to a website, which is the IP address of that box, log in, and now from that website, I can create virtual machines. Just create a bunch of virtual machines, and you have access to 99% of the resources of that computer, rather than Hyper-V. If I were to use Hyper-V, you either have Windows 10 or Windows 11 or Windows Server 2019 or whatever it is running, and then you have Hyper-V as a service. Right. So there's still a chunk of memory and disk and whatever being used by the operating system. So you don't get the full use of the computer. Either way, ESX is awesome. What's really kind of goofy, so to get access to an ESX server, you need to log in, right? There's this web page that you go to create a virtual machine, and you put in a username and a password. And you can do it two ways. You could do either a local username and password, or you could say, no, this is a domain computer, and I'm going to use my Windows domain, my Active Directory, right? And I'm going to log in with my work username and password to get access to this. And that would make sense. If we were a company of 10,000 people, I might have a QA department that tests our software. And they're going to spin up a virtual machine on ESXi, and they're going to test the software. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, then they can roll that Windows server back to before the software was installed and then reinstall it again and test it. So it's really actually nice if you're going to be like testing software over and over again or looking at viruses and that sort of stuff.
Right.
What's the exploit here, now that we've talked kind of what ESXi is.
I didn't even know what it is, and maybe I might want to use it if it's safe.
It's actually really nice. We use it all the time. Like so when we're working with the customer hires us to break into their servers and that sort of stuff and do a red team engagement. All of the VMs we use Kali as our operating system, which is an offensive pen testing operating system. All of our sort of workstation installs are on ESXi. So when we're done with that customer engagement, we delete all those VMs. They all go away. So any customer data, tactics, techniques, and procedures we use to gain access to the servers, that sort of stuff is deleted. And we roll back to original, right? And that way, every customer environment is start from the beginning.
So is ESXi a really good use for an old computer?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've used plenty of old computers where I'll just throw ESXi on and then spin it up. And maybe there's only like 8 gig of RAM on there, but I could still spin up 1 or 2 Windows computers on that one box and then roll them back, or maybe have one be a web server, have one be a Minecraft server, whatever it is I want to do with those boxes. Makes it nice and easy and convenient. Now,
all right. So do we talk enough about the ransomware?
We haven't yet. Hold on. So you say, okay, well, great. So now I need to have access. Let's say I want to deploy ransomware. Most organizations now use virtualization. Most organizations have virtualized servers and services. They buy these big honking, hardware boxes, terabytes of RAM and all sorts of hard drive space and, a trillion processors or whatever. And they install ESXi on it. And now you can spin up hundreds of computers on that one piece of hardware, which is kind of nice and kind of convenient.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm a ransomware artist, someone who's trying to encrypt all of your data,
it's kind of like
I want to
a
get
graffiti
access.
artist, Right.
What
Tried
do you do?
I'm a
tried to
ransomware
church it up
artist.
a little now.
I just couldn't draw faces, so I had to switch to ransomware.
Exactly. So I would want to get access to all those computers as quickly as possible. And the way to do that is to get access to the hypervisor. So if I can control ESXi, I can delete 100 or 200 computers or encrypt 100 or 200 computers.
And you've got to
instantly.
imagine some of these cloud providers, this is exactly what they're running.
Oh, absolutely. They're all running.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in Azure,
Microsoft
when you can spin up.
probably is not running ESXi.
No, they're probably not. They're probably using
not.
some sort of stripped down Hyper-V. But so the vulnerability here that was discovered is if on a ESXi box that is a part of a domain, so that's usually in a corporation. If you go and create a user group in Active Directory called ESX admins,
oh no,
and put your user account in it, you are now an admin in every ESX box on the planet.
Oh my God. That is the dumbest thing any developer has ever left open.
Like, what? You hard-coded?
Hard-coded.
I mean, you still need network access. You still need to be able to...
and you still need the ability to create a group, and you still need, there's still other bad things, but come on.
Wow. If we had a wall of shame, that would be on it.
Oh, this would go right up there. Whoever the guy is or gal who hard-coded ESX admins in the ESX
that's a Onion article waiting to happen right there.
But it saved them 10 whole minutes.
Instead of allowing the user to go in the UI and pick the admin group.
The developer could have gotten paid for another hour's worth of work had they just finished the job.
It's all good. So there you go. So if you do not have, well, you should go past your ESXi servers, but if you do not have an ESX admins group, you can always create one so that nobody else can.
Well, but it doesn't really solve the problem. It just takes a step out of the attack chain, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, because if you have access to create a group anyways, there's very few people who can just randomly create groups in Active Directory. It's usually a privileged account.
You can, I'm sure.
Well, there are
this
actually
isn't
some
quite,
really...
So this isn't quite the, well, if somebody's in your house, there's all sorts of kitchen knives they could use to murder you.
Right.
It's the fact that they're in your house that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
If there's weapons all along the wall, I think the problem is they got in the house to get to the weapons, not the weapons. But this is still something that needs to be fixed. And the reason,
it's still important.
Well, the reason is also a lot of times the hypervisors are used to give people, like there are people on the VMs that you don't trust.
Mm-hmm.
There's people on the VMs that you don't know. And so that is the source.
I'm going to blow up the building.
A lot of times the attack comes from inside the building.
And, okay. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Don't you go away. And we're back. You're listening to Security This Week. I'm Carl Franklin with Dwayne and Patrick. And wow, just blew our minds with that hypervisor thing. But let's move on, shall we? Because what says yummy like new Android malware wipes your device after draining your bank accounts?
It's a kick in the teeth and the junk all at once.
Such a coup de grace.
A new Android malware that researchers are calling Bingo Mod can wipe a device after successfully stealing money from the victim's bank account using online fraud techniques.
Wow.
So yeah, it will steal promoted through text messages. So you get a text message, get this. Like none of us have ever seen a text message from some random number that we don't know with a link that says, please click on this. But that's what you get. And somebody will click on it and it will then pose as a mobile security tool. So you might get a message that says, hey, this is Google, your Google Pixel. There's this new Android security tool we've released to help make sure there's no malware on your phone, blah, blah, blah. Click it. Right? Whatever.
Right.
And you click that link and give it unprecedented access to your phone, saying, yep, absolutely. I mean, you got to find the viruses, right? Go ahead, go find it. And this will then wait until you log into your bank accounts. It says the tool can steal up to 15,000 euros per transaction.
Wow.
And then we'll wipe your phone just for the lulz.
At least they're not greedy. Only 15,000.
Only up to 15,000. Yeah, we won't take too much. Just 15,000
per transaction.
Yeah, but if you have an Android phone, do you really have 15,000 euros in your bank account?
No,
I don't think so.
Maybe
Probably
not. Yeah.
Okay,
there are rich haters.
The hate mail.
There are rich haters.
Oof.
Okay, so what can you do besides buy an iPhone?
Besides an iPhone.
And put it in lockdown mode.
Right. Honestly, I think just buy an iPhone. No, really, this distills down to some pretty common sense.
Okay.
Listen, Android users, Google loves you. They're never going to send you a text message
with a link in it.
Well, yeah, I could stop there. Ever. They're never going to send you it. It's not going to happen.
Right.
They're not going to be like, hey, we need to see your password, or hey, here, download this. No.
That goes for everybody, not just Android users.
And just think about this logically. If Google had this really cool, awesome, stop all the malware on the planet piece of software, you know what they would do? They would bake it into the operating system that they built, which is Android, and push it out, right? So they're not going to send you a link for you to optionally click on this thing. Just don't click on anything in email. Friends, don't let friends click on things. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's how you get it. So it's not like you install a bad piece of software or something. It all starts with you clicking on a stupid link and a stupid message.
Isn't that how most things start?
Yeah.
Now, if you were to couple this with the 0-day, 0-click like Pegasus software,
Yeah.
well, you could get some ducats, some
Sufficiently scared enough.
euros.
But this next one just blows my mind. Dark Angels ransomware receives record-breaking $75 million ransom. Now, it's not that they asked for $75 million. They received $75 million.
Just say no. Just say no. Should be illegal.
I'm pretty sure it is, Patrick. I'm almost positive.
No, it's not illegal to pay a ransom.
It's not illegal to pay a ransom. Should be.
But it should be.
In most cases, you're funding either terrorist groups or at least crime gangs, and it is illegal to give money to the mob. I don't believe any of them fund dog shelters. So I think in all cases...
You know what else? It could turn a good person bad, because before we started recording, Dwayne actually said to me, I think I'm in the wrong business. So I'm not saying Dwayne is evil.
I'm saying $75 million is a lot of money.
I'm just saying he thought about it for a microsecond.
If you made it illegal, that would mean that a public company couldn't get up the funds to pay something like this unless the CEO reached in their pocket, which they're not going to do.
Yeah.
A private company, you know what? If the mom and pop down the street wants to do it, then, we're probably not going to find out. We're probably not going to catch them. But this would mean public companies like this would not do it.
And hospitals and all the other ransomware targets we've heard about.
How many
lately.
ransomwares will this fund?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How many more people will get into the ransomware business because, these guys made $75 million. I got to get me some of that.
I mean, that's already happening. It's just that it's funding so much more of the same.
Yeah.
And according to this article, so this was a Fortune 50 company. This was Johnson Controls.
Wow.
So according to this article, not only was the data encrypted, ransomware encrypted, etc. The Linux encryptor was used in a Dark Angels attack on Johnson Controls to encrypt the company's VMware ESXi servers. In this attack, Dark Angel claims to have stolen 27 terabytes of corporate data and demanded $51 million in payments. So Johnson Controls was also hit.
So did they tip them?
Right, with Dark Angel.
Asked for
I know. Now they're just going to... No. So I don't know if this new one was also Johnson Controls. I don't think it was. I think it's a different company. But Dark Angel's definitely raking in the money because
Johnson Controls funded them.
Wow.
Honestly, I'm gonna start being noisier about this. We need to make it illegal to pay a ransomware. It'll be painful in the short term, but in the long term, it will be much better.
But illegal where? I mean, companies are multinational, right?
No, illegal. Well, you can't operate in the United States if you pay a ransom. Basically, we'll seize your assets. We'll seize. The CEO can't come to the United States to visit if you pay a ransom. They won't do it if it's illegal because they'd have to reach into their pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Companies have to declare where they spend the money.
And if they keep doing it, tomahawks.
Tomahawks.
Just take away their citizenship. Yeah, I mean, if this was ransoms in the real world in America, we would have made it illegal by now because it would have been funding so many more kidnappings that we'd be like, okay, this is ridiculous. We have to stop letting people pay these ransoms because it's just creating more and more and more and more. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
Well, and there are definitely countries and societies where kidnappings are just a normal thing. It's literally a business transaction.
Yeah.
Somebody from your family gets stolen, you're going to pay $10,000 to get them back.
Do you want to live there?
Right. No. Hell no.
No.
So, we should continue this conversation on X or Mastodon or something. We have accounts there. Because I think this is the kind of thing people are listening to and they have opinions about. So we'd like to hear those. Maybe we'll share them on the show.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Hackers abuse Microsoft Office forms. I'm going to leave it right there. No.
It's like an article from 1998.
Hackers abuse Microsoft Office forms to launch two-step phishing attacks. Yikes.
Threat actors use a technique known as external account takeover or vendor email compromise to start attacking emails. So we've seen there are, especially with online platforms, with Office 365 and that sort of stuff, there are a lot of really great ways to trick someone into clicking on a link that looks like Microsoft's site, and you start gathering, you get their username and password, you log in as them. And what happens with hackers is hackers will typically sit inside your email for anywhere from 12 to 18 months. It's a long time. They're sitting in your email. And what they're typically looking for is you to purchase something from somebody. So make a large purchase as a company. Like we're going to buy, I don't know, 200 reverse engineering stations at $100,000 a pop. When they start seeing a transaction that might be going through, then they start intercepting those messages and responding either as the vendor selling you stuff, saying, oh, we changed our bank account, can you pay us here? Right? Or they start receiving, when the vendor sends information, they just change the bank account numbers, so that it looks like them. And this is known as a bunch of different things. Could be business email compromise, vendor email compromise if you're buying from a vendor, etc. A lot of these compromises here can be stopped twofold. One, multi-factor authentication. If you don't have it turned on, you should have it turned on at this point.
Absolutely.
And two, even if we used to say, if you're not expecting the email from somebody, don't click on it. And now I think the answer is, even if you are expecting the email from somebody,
verify.
Don't click on it. Yeah, verify first. Absolutely. Because in this case, if we were buying, I don't know, like I said, we're buying 100 Tesla cars to, be for each and every one of our employees, and we go to send Tesla a whole bunch of money, they might send us a document that says, oh, here, click here to verify your bank account, whatever minute, or here's the terms and agreements. But it actually came from a hacker, didn't come from Tesla. Even though I did expect it, it wasn't sent by them. So you're absolutely
how would
right.
that happen? That would happen because they have access to your account and or someone's account in the chain. It doesn't have to be you. And they know that the email is coming. They know the transaction's coming.
Right.
That's all it takes.
Absolutely. Yep.
That's all I got to say about that. I don't know. All right. So, I figured out how it works by the oversized slideshow-like thing, infographic. I thought my browser, was up to like 200%, but nope. They meant to do that.
What is that?
But it says the attacker sends a compromised inbox an email, and then that gets sent to a clean email to the target user. They click and get an Office form, and then there's another click within that Office form that brings them to the phishing page. So that's what the two-step part of the two-step phishing attack is. Yikes. All right. So shall we move on to our clickbait story?
Sure. Heck yeah.
Yes. We don't deny that we led you to this story and you had to sit through all that other crap to get to the real goodies. And here it is.
And if you don't like it, you can just delete it. Oh, wait.
Yeah. Or we could.
Oh, wait, you can't.
What am I talking about?
All right. So this is in cybernews.com. Deleted GitHub data is forever accessible to anyone. Researchers claim.
Yeah.
What?
That's a
delete
big claim.
Doesn't mean delete. That's kind of like the global recycle bin for GitHub, right?
Yeah.
It's still there.
Except for everybody has access to it, which is nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
Microsoft owned GitHub. GitHub's design makes repository data forever available, potentially enabling malicious actors to access sensitive information such as API keys and secrets, even after the users think they've deleted them. So we've, we always say don't put secrets in code, don't put API keys and that sort of stuff. But what if you had one commit where you push that data up into GitHub and you go, oh no, that's not what I wanted to do. I forgot there's a key there, right?
Maybe it was before you knew that was a problem.
Yeah, and you went and cleaned it up.
Yeah, you deleted the repository and created another one that was clean.
According to researchers, nope, they're still available, and you can still get data back from that. According to this article, and I'll have to dig in. I'll have to see how much data I can see on GitHub. Anyways, according to this article, you can access data from deleted forks, deleted repositories, even private repositories on GitHub, and it is available forever. This is known by GitHub and is intentionally designed that way, according to researchers. Yeah.
Crazy.
That's crazy. Why would they keep everything? I mean, you'd think as a cloud provider, they would want to free up storage. Storage is a major cost.
To protect users from exposing their projects, GitHub hashes snapshots of in-progress projects called commits within GitHub. However, researchers claim the hashes can be brute forced or accessed to the GitHub via the public events API. So a hash would tell uniquely what is in that commit. And if I can brute force that hash, I can see what that unique commit was.
I'm going to give Dwayne a present right now and all the listeners.
Ooh.
But Dwayne, I don't know if he knows about this, but here it is. Dwayne, go to grep.app. Grep.app lets you search across 500,000 Git repos.
Oh, this is really cool. I was going to write this.
I expect a bottle of scotch for this.
100%.
There's a case sensitive option, a regular expression option, and whole words option. What's the first thing I looked for? Default connection string equals.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't find anything. So
really?
That's good. I'm sure Dwayne will find something.
I was going to say, I've already found passwords.
So this is one step closer to Dwayne taking the ransomware job, I think.
Username equals Alice, password equals secret PASSWD. Oh, this is fantastic.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh, man.
You're feeding the monster.
I know. And while Dwayne just salivates over this, we'll say goodbye.
I'm sorry, folks. I'm busy now.
We'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye,
guys.